In today's video, I'm going to show you how to achieve this before and after effect in Divi 5. But not only that, I'm also going to show you how to create the whole section. Let's dive in and let's get started. So over here, I have the latest version of Divi installed. So let's go ahead and add our first row. So I'm going to go ahead and add it like that. So the first thing I need to add in here is a text module. The next thing is going to be a heading. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then I'm also going to need a description paragraph. So that's going to be a text module. So I find it easier to just add all the elements that I need before I can start going in and styling them. All right, so now that we have these three elements, I'm also going to need two buttons for my call to actions. So I'm going to hover over my last paragraph, click on this plus button, and then click on group. Now, the reason why I've chosen group is because I want to add two buttons side by side. So let's search for our button module like that. And since I need two of these, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate them. So now that I have these two buttons, in order for me to have them side by side, I need to go into the group settings and then use Flexbox to change my direction of my buttons. So if I come over here to design and then click on layout, you'll notice that the direction here is column, which means they're stacked one on top of the other. So what I need now is to have them in a row. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then finally, I just need to make sure that they are centered. So I'm going to come over here and center them. Now, before I go in and add my other image before and after, I first of all need to center all of this. So I'm going to go in here, go to my content and just make sure that it is centered. I'm going to do the same to the heading. Just make sure you select it and then go to the heading itself and then center it. And then finally, we need to do that to the paragraph text. Okay, so now that I have everything centered, it's time now to add another row. So I'm going to click on this plus button, add a single column. And in this column, you're going to find that we have this before and after image. This is how we're going to achieve that before and after effect. We'll go ahead and select that, and you can see by default, it gives us these two images. So what you need to do is to prepare your images ahead of time. It's very important you do that. So I've already added my images to my media library. So I'm going to click here once and then go to my media library. So the first image I need to add is the one which is, the bad one, right? So let's go ahead and upload it. Now, the next thing I need to do is to add the second one, which is going to be the finished product or the finished example. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and then click on upload image. Okay, so already I have my image here. Everything is looking great and it is working before I even do my preview, which is fantastic. But as you can see, it doesn't have all the labels that we need here. And thankfully, we can add a label by clicking here on module settings. And then over here, we have our option for our labels. So for the before label, normally I just add in before. And for the after label, I just call it after. Okay. So you can see here, I've added my labels and now they're showing. But in my case, I would like to stylize it a little bit. So for this complete module, I want to soften the edges a little bit. And then for the text itself, ideally, I want it in all caps. Thankfully, I have a preset over here, but if you wanted to do it manually, you would come over here, go to your labels, and then you go to label text. Make sure you have this, the setting you want. Okay. And then over here, you'd add in your size, you add in your label text color. So like I said, instead of spending so much time doing all of that, I have a preset. I'm just going to come over here and say, okay, before and after. And now it has applied my soft edges. The only thing I need to do now is to decide whether I'm going to have the text like this or I'm going to have it all caps. So in my case, I think I'll have it all caps. And then I'll just update my preset here. Now, this is also another example how you can use these presets to make your design workflow much, much easier. Okay, so now that I have this all set, and by the way, if you don't know what presets are, I'll include a video to the Divi 5 masterclass where I cover pretty much everything about Divi 5 that you need to know. All right, so the next thing I need to do now is to come over here to the buttons. Again, I'm going to go in and set this to primary button. Okay, so you can see it's already stylized for me. I'm also going to go to the next one here and do the same thing, but this time I'm going to set it to primary button, but it's going to be light. Okay, so let's go ahead now and label these buttons. So for the first one, I'm going to say try now. And then for this one here, I'm going to say buy now. All right, so now I have my buttons all set. It's time for me now to go in and customize my text here to make it look appealing. So we're going to start off with this paragraph text. So I'm going to click here in my module settings and then just go in and paste my text like that. But of course, it's quite tiny out of the box. So what I need to do is to come over here to design, go to text, and again, you need to go in and enter your clamp values. That's what makes it responsive. So I highly recommend you use clamp. So in my case, again, I have a preset for that. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to choose my text and I'm going to set it as large. So here it is, K-text large. There we go. So now my text is already set. The next thing I need to do now is to come over here to the heading. So this needs to be really out there so that people can see what the product is. So I'm going to now set my size. So to do that, I'm going to come over here. And for this, I'm going to try K display medium. And yeah, I can use that, or I can try maybe K display small. Okay, I think I'll go with small. I think this is much, much better. The other one is way too big. Okay, so I'm going to replace my text here with this text. And then over here on the top, I just need to add an eyebrow. So I'm just going to say brand new plugin, perhaps, or new Divi 5 plugin. Okay, so I'm going to call it new Divi 5 module. But for this, I have two options. I can either use the eyebrow, which is right here. Okay, so that's going to be sort of like my entry level to my whole section, or I can use a label. So I'm going to go ahead and select K badge. And there we go. And I think that one looks much better. So as we look at this, it may look like it's almost complete, but there's a few things that we need to fix here. First of all, our paragraph text here is just way too long. We cannot use it like this. It's not very good for usability. So I'm going to go into my row settings. And then on the top here, I'm going to set this to wide text row like that. And now you can see, you know, everything has now come a bit smaller. The width has become a bit smaller. But as we look at this, of course, we can say, right, it's almost complete. But if you want this to really look professional, then we need to make sure that our spacing here is correct, because by default, we get the spacing here out of the box with Divi 5, but we need to add our own, which is also fluid. So to do that, we're going to use a spacing scale from my design system. So I'm going to select row settings, and then I'm going to come over here to elements. Make sure you select column, okay? And then you go to design. Now under layout, you want to come over here and set this to gap 0. Now that takes away the spacing pretty much on every single item on our page. So what we need to do now is to go in and intentionally add our spacing. So I'm going to start by clicking here on my display text, and then under spacing, for my margin top, I am going to say margin top small. Okay. And then I'm going to come to this paragraph text. Again, I'm going to come over here, set this to margin top small. And then finally, for my group here, I'm going to set the spacing to margin top medium. Okay. Because I want a bit more space between the paragraph text and the buttons. So there we go. I mean, I can even go large if I wanted to. So I can just go in here and set this to margin top large, get rid of that. And now my spacing looks way much better than how it was before. Finally, this section here does not have enough padding around it. So I can just select my section here. Now over here on the section settings, I can now set this to either large, I can set this to medium if you just want, something small. But if this is going to be like your main section, then what you want to do is to set this to large, like that, and that's going to look way much better. Now let's go ahead and save this, and let's do a preview on the front end. So I'm going to click here on preview on front end, and now we see our design here. Now what's really cool about this is this out of the box is responsive. So if I do a quick inspect here, what you're going to notice is when I drag this and make it smaller, you can see my buttons are getting smaller, and pretty much everything is adjusting. You see that? Even the before and after, it works. So this is going to work brilliantly on mobile phones. And as you can see, my text here, everything here has all updated, which is fantastic. So this is ideally the way you want to design your websites. It needs to be mobile friendly, and also if you want to design super fast, as I mentioned before, you need to use a design system. This is the only workflow that is going to work for Divi 5. Gone are the days of the Divi 4 workflow where you're going to go in and enter each and every size or setting manually. If you do that manually, your websites are not going to be consistent. So first of all, create your variables over here. For example, I have all my variables all set. So you need to set up all your variables and then create all your presets. Thankfully, I have a product called the Crafter Pro design system for Divi 5. This has pretty much everything you need. As you were seeing in my design today, I was able to go in and make all these changes and have a super clean layout like this using Divi 5. It's going to save you a lot of time, and right now you can save $40 by going to the link in the video description below. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.